First, let's turn to David Jones, former Minister in the Department for Exiting the European Union and a Brexiteer. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
How bad is this plan?
Well, on the face of it, and of course I've only seen the leaked document, it's not very good at all. The Prime Minister has made very clear that there are three principal red lines in these negotiations. No single market, no customs union, and no jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. And it does seem to me that all those three red lines would be breached by what is being proposed today.
What do you make of the argument, it's rather neatly put in The Spectator, that might be made by the Prime Minister, which is this: we take back control and then we decide not to exercise it?
Well, I think that's sophistry, frankly. I think that the point is that if we are making this commitment as the basis of a negotiation, then we'll be expected to adhere to it. And whichever way we actually achieve that, it is going to be something less than the full Brexit that we've had repeated promises of from the Prime Minister and other cabinet members.
And that would be because of the warnings from business that full Brexit would damage them and damage jobs and damage people. And isn't it the realisation of that dawning on the Cabinet that puts Theresa May this morning in quite a powerful position?
Well, there's certainly been a concerted effort recently from elements of business, chiefly those that are either EU-based or export to the EU. They don't actually constitute by any means the bulk of the economy of this country.
Gosh, they matter though, don't they? Hundreds of thousands of jobs dependent on them.
Well, of course they matter, but we must get this into proportion. They account for only around 10 to 12% of the economy. The rest of the economy either doesn't export at all or exports outside the EU. And it does seem to me that the Cabinet, when they meet today, should consider the economy as a whole and the fact that there are tremendous opportunities outside the EU, which in fact would be inhibited by the proposals that are on the Cabinet table today.
Really? So when it comes to the car industry and the Airbus and all the rest of them, it is time, you think, for the Cabinet to say to them, look, your interests do not come first in this. In fact, they come very much down the list.
Well, of course not. But of course, I think that...
Well, that would be the effect of it, wouldn't it?
Well, those warnings are overblown, quite frankly. And, you know, really, all these businesses have known for the last 2 years that we are leaving the European Union. So one might have expected that they might have been making some preparations, and I'm sure that they have. What they've got at the moment is a last-ditch effort, effectively, to keep us tied to the European Union simply because they want to avoid the inevitable disruption that will have to take place as a consequence of the country having voted to leave the European Union. Now,
your views that you've just expressed are certainly going to be represented around the Cabinet table. What is your advice to those who think, as you do, if Theresa May sticks to this plan?
Well, I'm not actually going to second-guess the outcome of today's discussions. I want to see what happens.
But is this a resigning matter?
We haven't even got to that stage yet because as we speak, the discussions haven't opened. Those discussions are going, obviously, to be very forthright. But I think that what we have to bear in mind, which is probably the most important matter of all, is that the European Union itself is extremely unlikely to accept these proposals because, quite simply, they intrude on the principle of the four freedoms. David Davis has made that clear to the Prime Minister in a letter that he's written only this week. And what we should be pushing for is an arrangement that would be acceptable to the EU and would be acceptable to us. And we know, and in fact I know because I discussed this personally with Michel Barnier, that a Canada-style deal would be acceptable. So let's press for something that is realistic rather than, frankly, the pie in the sky that is being proposed today.
David Jones, thank you very much.